Welcome to the One for the Road podcast. My name is Mr. K. Alongside me is C Squared. Tonight's topic, Zelensky, servant of the people. We're going to track the life and times of our friend Volodymyr Zelensky since he's been in the news a little bit, is the rumor on the streets.
He's a servant, all right. I'm not sure who he's serving.
Yes. We'll track the rise of
What
Zelensky.
did Bob Dylan say? You might serve
someone. You got to serve someone.
Serve someone. It might be the
That's
devil. It might be the Lord, but you got to serve someone.
Yeah, that's a good song.
Yeah.
We'll track the rise of Zelensky from a comedian and TV star to the president of Ukraine. We are going to run a quick quiz for C Squared on his Zelensky knowledge. We'll draw some amazing comparisons between Zelensky and President Trump. We'll answer the question, is Zelensky the anti-corruption president that he ran his platform on in 2019?
I thought his platform was YouTube making dance videos in high heels. But
he's quite prevalent on YouTube.
Oh, no.
We'll also count the amount of money that us and the various countries in Europe have donated to Mr. Zelensky's war against Russia since 2022.
Interesting that he used to be a comedian, because I'm not sure who's laughing at this.
Right. And we'll look into his wardrobe a little bit. That became the subject of some controversy earlier this week. And I think that's it. And we'll close with, do we think peace is in sight? Warning, we will be butchering the pronunciation of various people throughout the podcast. C Squared and I are not professional broadcasters, as you could probably tell. So,
and I am not fluent in Russian or
neither am I. I thought I'd run down. So how did the comedian become president? So Zelensky has been involved with comedy troupes since he was 17. One of his comedy troupes became quite popular to the point where they were on television. They actually started producing a lot of TV shows in around 2003. Zelensky has had a film career that spanned from 2004 to 2018 and, of course, stopped when he became president in 2019. His most memorable TV role was in a TV show called Servant of the People, where he played a fake Ukrainian president. When the series ended, he ran for real presidency under an anti-establishment, anti-corruption platform and captured 73% of the vote and was elected president in 2019.
And since there are no longer elections, I guess he just gets to remain president.
Yes. So he's good point, and this was brought up later on. Ukrainian presidential terms are 5 years. His was supposed to be up in May 2024, but they made a special circumstance because little war going on. So you can't really have an election in Ukraine. It makes sense while bombs are going through the air. So his presidential term has been extended until the end of the war,
which could be never at this point in time. But at least President Trump is putting a little pressure on there.
Yes.
Also, probably not a ton of news on this, but I think that he was also closing churches for a while that opposed his point of view. So I don't have the exact definition of the word dictator, but
Right.
I'm
Right.
pretty sure that his actions are pretty darn close.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds like the propaganda playbook from some of the past dictators. Lastly, as Chris C squared mentioned, that Zelensky leverages social media quite a bit and ran almost his whole campaign on social media with YouTube clips. He did not interface with the major media outlets at all during his campaign, and it's a pretty good formula. He did win by a vast majority of votes.
So the question I say before we get into it, in just general discussion terms, is I believe the day after, or within a couple of days of Trump being inaugurated, he mentioned that he didn't have all the money, which if I am not mistaken, it's somewhere around 180 $100
Billion.
billion dollars. He did not have all the money, and alluded to the fact that he only had a small portion of it, and that they should look around in the US to find the rest of them.
Yes, yes.
That has not been, no one has alluded to that since, but I find that a extremely interesting statement, and hopefully the folks at Doge are in fact looking for the rest of that
Yes,
somewhere.
yes. What's interesting, so that is true. He says, "I don't know what happened to $100 billion that you gave me." It was so. To your point, he was like, "You guys said you gave me 180 billion. I only remember 80 billion." We're like, "What you do with the other 100, dude?" So that's been
Exactly.
circulating. So yeah.
And in a maybe unrelated fact, Uh, Tucker Carlson interviewed Sam Bankman Fried, who had some negative things to say about Joe Biden. Um, uh, I am not sure if Mr. Fried knows more than he is saying about potentially how cryptocurrency may have been used to
Mm.
funnel money around the globe back and forth into non war related activities in the United States. So that could be another piece that I would love to understand exactly where that money went and the actual flow of currency.
Oh
Unless, of
yes.
course, it was like Mr. Obama's scenario with Iran back in the day, where pallets of dollars were delivered, pallets of currency. I'm sure they weren't dollars because
You're right, probably.
there were a tremendous amount of pallets as it was, saying that it was I don't know if it was $400 million. I think, if memory serves me, in cash. So what? How many
Mm.
pallets does it take to hold $400 million in cash? Apparently,
Not a
he
problem I've had to
built a
solve recently.
C-130, which I can tell you, having seen C-130s land numerous times at Wright Patterson Air Force Base, um, uh, they are quite the large plane, as big as a ship. To be honest with you, it makes
Right,
a
right,
747 look like a two-seater passenger plane.
right.
So to fill one up with currency,
Mm.
pallets of currency, and then land it somewhere and unload that, it's amazing.
Yes, yes. I remember when Vance got elected in the Senate, like his first month, he was like, I'm proposing a bill. I want to know where the money's going to and why to Zelensky. I mean, he wanted the Office of Management and Budget to itemize all of the money and what's going on.
Ironically enough, I believe that Rand Paul suggested that a few years back when that
Right.
first started, and he got the thumbs down on auditing where that money was going, getting an audit trail on where that money was going.
Right. I mean, there's an article from Newsweek about I'm reading it now. That I mean, there were corrupt guys stealing the money that they were given in aid, and he had to fire them. And his defense minister said an audit had uncovered corruption connected to military procurement worth 262 mil, and then other guys have had to resign. Defense ministry official was arrested on suspicion that he embezzled nearly 40 million.
And think
So
about that when you talk about 180 billion, that's chump change. That's not that's not even close to 1%. Right.
right,
So the bottom line is that a couple of guys are embezzling millions, and that's not a red flag because of the fact that I have hundreds of
of
billions.
billions. Yes,
And
yes,
unbelievable.
yes. All right. So let's quiz C squared's knowledge of Zelensky. The first question is: how tall is Zelensky?
Let's see. 4'9" with a flat head. No, wait.
A little taller.
We won't go down that path. Um, uh, 5'6".
Close. 5'7".
Yeah,
Very good.
there we are.
How old is Zelensky?
Oh shucks. How about I'm debating on saying either 43 or 47. How about 43?
47. You're right the second
Oh
time.
God, I should have picked door
47.
number 2.
47. Pretty young. I was surprised. But he does look about 40. How long has Zelensky been president of the Ukraine?
Let's see here. How about 6.5 years?
No. Close. 5. It'll be 6 in May. So
No, okay.
close.
Okay.
Close. True or false? Does Zelensky possess a law degree?
False.
It is true.
Oh, he
He
does.
possesses a law degree. He has never practiced law. Even though he got the degree, he went into comedy instead.
Interesting. So, what fine institution? My return question: what fine institution issued that law degree?
Some name I'm going to butcher because it was
Yeah,
in the Ukraine.
Acme University
Yeah.
comes to mind, and you
It's
know
it
yeah,
wasn't
that
it
was
wasn't correspondence.
that's right. Right,
Uh,
it wasn't
I did
correspondence.
find it.
You never had to reply as long as you kept sending a check.
Yeah, it was the Curvy Re Institute of Economics, who I guess do law degrees too. So yeah, to your point is the answer. I had to look that one up. Last true or false? Zelensky was in a movie called Alone in Las Vegas.
True.
Yes, that is
Uh,
correct. Alone in Vegas. I'm sorry, it was the exact title. And yes, he appeared in quite a few movies. And yeah, one was
I'm
called
sure.
Alone in Vegas.
I'm sure on the set is where he learned to gamble because he's pretty good with that.
Yes. So, what I found amazing when I was looking at Zelensky is the many comparisons with our current president, Donald Trump. Both were TV stars and on TV from the period of 2015 to 2017. So, from periods 2015 to 2017, Zelensky was in the TV show Servant of the People. Trump, of course, was on The Apprentice at the time. So, these are former TV stars who struck gold, I guess. Now they're presidents.
Well, I think one had gold when he arrived on the
Yes,
set,
yes, yes.
and the other one
That's
was
for
a
sure.
gold digger, and he still, and
Yeah,
still remains in that status.
right. Both have appeared in movies. Trump was in Home Alone 2, I believe, and some other movies. Zelensky's been in about 10 movies. Zelensky also has done voice acting work for Paddington and Horton Hears a Who. Both were comedians. Now Trump isn't a comedian, but I've seen some of Zelensky's episodes and I've seen some of Trump's
So he did.
speeches, and
Did he?
I'm convinced Trump is funnier.
So he did voiceover work. Was he able to get behind Biden and stick his hand up his shirt and make him actually
Yes,
talk? And
yes, multi-talented.
multi-talented.
Both ran as anti-establishment, anti-corrupt outsider platforms when they ran for president. So I thought that was interesting. Both use social media extensively. Zelensky is quite the Instagram user, while Donald J. Trump was quite the Twitter user in his first term, and now it's X. And both have a history of firing people quite a bit in their administration. Both have fired lots of generals. Of course, Zelensky had to. Some of them were corrupt, and some of them weren't exactly competent in this battle that's been going on with Russia. And of course, Donald J. Trump in his first term pretty much had to recycle his whole cabinet.
And it didn't do him much good anyway.
No,
He
no.
he should have washed and rinsed numerous times in term one, but term
Right.
two looks a little stronger.
Yes, yes. A lot better cabinet, I would say. I think he learned a lot his first term, and now his second term, he's learning from his mistakes and getting some really solid people. I love the Tulsi Gabbard appointment. Uh, Question for Chris. All of this aid is going to Zelensky. Do you think this might be a long con? Is with the war and everything, or
I thought it was a con from the very get go. I was just shocked that people bought into this scenario. All the information was coming out about um, it being a proxy war for the U.S., all the stuff that was going on in the U.S., realistically, how Ukraine fell from their um, uh, previous elected administration due to what they would consider a color revolution in,
right?
I believe it was 2014, which is usually the color revolution scenario is usually um, uh, funded from outside the country by nefarious NGOs. So, very interesting there. So, somebody wanted Mr. Zelensky to take power, or somebody that was willing to execute on their views to take power in 2014. And apparently that has happened and materialized, much to the detriment of the people of Ukraine.
Right, right. So, as far as aid goes, of course, the U.S. has contributed, as C squared stated. I think the exact figure is 177 billion. All of Europe has contributed about 150 billion. Number two in countries who have contributed is Germany at about 17 billion. So that's where the drop off is.
Yeah, and quite a drop off it is. We should have got receipts for everything, and so we could actually ask for our money back.
Right. And I
No,
find it, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I think Mr. Trump has a pretty solid plan to
Yes.
get the money back
Yes.
via his mineral discussions.
Yes.
If that
Yes.
again falls through, um, then I would realistically say that there needs to absolutely be a new president in Ukraine, somebody that is able to more successfully deal with the current U.S. administration.
Right.
Either way, my personal opinion is the money should stop. Either
Oh, yeah.
the ride is over.
Yes.
If the European elite would like to continue this war, they can do it on their own dime,
Exactly.
and they can lose all that money and the war potentially on their own dime. Now I know Macron had uh, revved up the nuclear rhetoric, which was laughable
Right.
to the current Russian administration, Putin, and his defense minister. So France being, I'm not sure where that comes from, but it just shows the insanity of Europe at this point,
Right.
of the leadership of the elite leadership of Europe at this point in time. Just unbelievable because if the U.S. does not intervene, and me being a U.S. citizen, I would be highly disappointed if we intervened. I would be calling for a new election here.
Yes.
I essentially would if Europeans want to go forward with this on their own, have at it and good
Yes.
luck to you.
Right.
Not really, but you understand.
Yeah, I mean they're like throwing nickels into the hat compared to us. I mean it's unbelievable. Like I said, there's like all of Europe. I mean there's like 19 European countries combined and maybe more that got to almost the level of just the U.S. as far as aid goes. And I mean, like I said, we're at 177. Number two, Germany's at 18 or something. And then, the other laughable thing you mentioned, Macron of France, and when he was sitting next to Trump, and he was like, "Yeah, we paid." Yeah, I'm looking at the list. You're eighth at about 12 billion.
So, what I would say
Well, it's less
is
than 10 billion. Sorry, it's 8 billion they threw
Germany
in.
does not have a ton of products uh, that are beneficial to the U.S. That we are interested in. However, we do like the high end Mercedes and the high
Yes,
end BMWs.
right,
So, Mr. Trump, President Trump, after you're done getting the minerals from Ukraine, I think
right,
Germany
right.
owes us some of that money back, and that every person in America that is above 18 with a valid driver's license really should get one of the high end European
Right.
sports
Yes, yes.
sent to them, just as a as a gift for doing such a favor to the American
Yes,
government.
exactly. So the last thing I have, well, one of the last things I have is what's up with this dude's wardrobe? He was called to the carpet by one of our reporters, like, why don't you wear a suit? He didn't have a really good answer. What's a little ironic is that when he was the TV star and playing the fictional president, he always wore a suit. In the early days after his election, he wore a suit. He started donning gray and black sweatshirts that he calls military grade since the war. And I guess he thinks like he's a soldier fighting this war when he's in these military like sweatshirts.
Right. And since he's wearing those, I would suggest that they send him to the front line
Right.
to make a determination what's going on up there, and maybe show his bravery by leading his
Right.
troops into battle.
Right. Right. Right.
I would love to see that, since he obviously thinks he's military grade.
Right. Right. Exactly. So, last question: is peace in sight?
Oh boy, that's a hard one, Mr. K. The If anybody can make that happen, I would say that Trump will make that happen. Um, Boy, there's sure a lot of European elite who don't want to see that happen. They claim that some of the disruptions in the stock market this week, which we won't go down that rabbit hole, but some of the disruptions were initially created by instability in the German bond market.
Hmm.
So, from that aspect, Germany being one of the major players in trying to continue the war, I find that very interesting. Um,
Right.
from that aspect, uh, the Europe. The European leadership obviously wants this to continue for whatever reason, for financial stability in the euro or whatever is going on over there that we don't fully understand in their financial markets. Um, Obviously, Donald Trump wants to push for peace, and I would very much like to see peace break out. It would appear that uh, Vladimir Putin would, in fact, get on that train and allow for peace, because he appears to be a rational person. So you have an irrational set of folks and some rational set of folks, and I would say that it's really a toss up at this
Right.
point. I am now leaning more towards peace. I think the fact that Zelensky has apologized, I believe apologized
Yes.
to President Trump, that leads me to believe that we're heading down the road of peace, because he would not do that if he didn't think he needed the U.S. Uh,
Yes.
and my thought is, no matter if he apologizes or not, we should be folding our hand. There shouldn't be another penny sent there.
Oh yeah.
Shouldn't be
Yeah.
another bullet sent there. As a matter of fact, it is now time to conduct audits and find out where every penny of that
Yes.
money went to, and not just into Zelensky's pocket. We know quite a bit of it probably went there. I want to understand where the $100 billion went, and if it came back to the U.S. in any way, shape, or form. I would love to know where that went.
Yes.
That
Yes.
seems like a major racket that potentially has illegality written all over
Right.
it. I would
Right.
love to see that the people that perpetrated that are need to serve justice.
Right. Yeah, that might be the next shoe that drops. But I think Trump's been doing things in stages, and he's like, "Well, let me get this war stopped. Let me get some peace going." I think I'm pretty optimistic that there's going to be peace. What scares me a little bit more than anything on this whole thing is Putin, and I think that Donald, unlike his predecessor, can kind of reason and get Putin to do things that other regimes couldn't prior to him. And they seem to have a good understanding, like, come on, dude, and stuff like that. But the scary thing is when I thought peace was close, Putin went in and just like demolished some more buildings in Ukraine, and Trump was like, that wasn't too smart, Vladimir. So I'm a little more concerned on the Putin side, and why I'm a little pessimistic about peace being in sight. But I do believe that peace is in sight. I think Zelensky has come to his senses that he really needs U.S. and this is a good way to let's just stop this. I mean, I don't think any more people need to get killed.
I do think that point is probably the most relevant, John, which is how many senseless tens of thousands have lost their lives.
Right.
From that aspect, you need to stop. It should have never started. It's
right. I mean, the heavy fighting has been 3 years now, and where are we? I mean, except the horrible thing is there's millions of people who are dead.
Yeah, I did read
for what?
that the intelligence for guided missiles has now stopped. So essentially, there is no ability to actually do any type of precision missile strike on Ukraine's part, and maybe that was purposefully done to tell Putin, okay, they don't have the ability to hit anything. We turned that spigot off. Don't level anything else.
Right.
Until we make the peace stable, which very wise, very wise. If that's the outcome that happens, that they can't, that they are essentially now dead in the water. Putin needs to stop too. And essentially, even before you've hashed out the details, you have a ceasefire because we turned off the spigot, and now he should turn off the spigot and come to the negotiating table.
Yes, I agree. Well, Chris, that's all I got. I can do the outro here. You can reach us on email at onefortheroadpodcast@gmail.com. Our soon to be constructed website is onefortheroad.net. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube. We're also audio versions of this podcast are available on rss.com and Podbean.
Well, thanks for listening.
I hope peace will reign. I'll close with I do hope this war ends. I do hope peace is delivered.
Ditto on that. Thanks again, folks, for tuning in.
Yes, thanks. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have a good night.